Sharks, I'm Andy Siegel.
I'm Dan Brado.
And I'm Audley Wilson.
We are Robo Burger.
Sharks, we've all been there, searching for hot, delicious food, especially in off hours and remote locations. This is because food service requires huge capital expenditures, long-term leases. And while flipping burgers seems simple, keeping a kitchen staff is harder than you think.
But what if you didn't have to go through all that? What if we fit the whole thing in a 12 square foot box that only needed electricity to operate?
Sharks, welcome to the future of food.
Robo Burger,
the world's first fully autonomous,
robotic,
miniature restaurant
that freshly cooks a hot and delicious hamburger in under 4 minutes. But I know what you're thinking. How good could it really be?
How good? It's flippin' delicious. The Robo Burger provides a restaurant quality experience. The Robo Chef grills the patty, toasts the buns, adds the condiments, and delivers it all piping hot.
Parker's not impressed.
That's just the beginning. Our multi-patented robotic cooking platform requires no special plumbing or venting and can freshly cook anything that's round and ground.
The vending machine brought us beverages more conveniently. The ATM, money on the go. And now Robo Burger brings us hot, fresh, delicious food anytime, anywhere.
Our footprint may be small, but the possibilities are unlimited. We're ready to flip the restaurant industry on its head.
Sharks, we're asking for $1.5 million at
Ooh.
5%.
So which one of you hungry sharks
wants to take a big bite out of
Robo Burger?
Beep, 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 beep.
Welcome. We are back to another Shark Tank reaction video. I'm your host, Dave, and this is interesting. There was a lot of good stuff that I heard in the beginning as a patent attorney, as an intellectual property attorney, that makes my ears perk up. The first thing that they mentioned was, one of the first things that they mentioned, that they had multiple patents on their invention. Now, it's a ton of, or I want to say a ton of, but it's a fair amount of automated kind of cooking machines or burger machines. Heck, I worked on a number of applications years ago out of a company out, I think, in California, where they were creating this burger restaurant, this fully automated, I guess, kitchen, if you will, that cooked burgers, put condiments on it, lettuce, all those different things, put the bun on it, cook the burger, all those things, and dispensed a burger. Now, it wasn't in a vending machine situation. It wasn't a vending machine situation, but it still was an automatic or automated burger cooking device. So those are not necessarily new. I haven't seen anything personally. And again, please let me know in the comments if you have seen anything that was cooked burgers from a vending machine environment where it's portable. You can put it in different places. And I can really see this thing being big, where you have these 24-hour plants. So automotive plant, a plant that maybe makes jet engine parts. I can think of a few here in the Michigan area where it's running 24/7, manufacturing different parts, where, in the evening time, or 10, 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, where the staff has gone home for the day, and these people are still getting hungry, still on break, getting hungry, things like that. And I just, before they kind of really get off into it, I can really see this thing kind of being something in those environments. And like I said, the fact that they have a patent on it, it'll be interesting to see what the patent covers. But for me personally, I haven't seen anything, at least on a commercial level, that talks about a burger making machine in a vending machine environment, which again, I think is something different. And being able to describe the hardware, the software that's associated with that, they may have something there. So these are just some of my initial thoughts. I try to give you guys just stuff, my thoughts in real time without kind of looking at this stuff beforehand. Other 3 things that I look for to see whether or not this thing is really going to be something big is how simple is it, how effective, and what's the market like. Now, obviously, with these vending machines, it's, it can get complex, but from the user experience, from the user's perspective, it can be pretty simple. Although, if you have to this thing has to breaks down a lot, then it can be not as simple. And unfortunately, the more parts you have with something, I guess the more complicated it could be, and the more maintenance it can be, especially when you're talking about hardware components. The second thing is how effective is it? Seems pretty simple. You're dispensing burgers that seems like they only have a few different options: ketchup, mustard. Seems like they don't have other condiments such as lettuce and stuff like that. So, and then obviously the user, as well as the sales, that's going to really tell the story as far as how effective is a product. Then the last thing, what's the market like? Obviously, everybody's trying to go towards this as automated restaurants and things like that, especially with, I think, out in California, they're charging $20 an hour. So as these as these prices start to climb with these restaurants and having to pay employees, you're going to see more and more things like this. And so the market is starting to get there now. As far as the kind of the portable vending burger machine market, I don't see a lot in that space. Like I said, this is the first one I have seen personally. However, that kind of market as it relates to just automated burger devices or burger machines, burger apparatus, that's starting to get it's a lot more players in that space, if you will. So if you have something as simple as that's effective and that the market is not saturated, then you stand to make a lot of money with your invention. That's from my perspective, being a almost 10-year intellectual property attorney that's dealing with everything from patents to trademarks to copyright. So these are some just initial thoughts that I have. Let's continue to get back to it and see what the sharks think about the invention. Let's see here. There we go.
Michael, would you like to come up and experience Robo Burger?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Sharks, please try our delicious burgers that are in front of you.
Press anywhere on the screen.
Okay.
You'll notice it's loading up now, getting you ready. Now, what would you like? A standard with all the toppings, ketchup, mustard, and cheese?
I don't want the standard. I don't
That's
want
all
No
the
custom,
ketchup,
just for you
okay,
every
perfect.
time. So, you have your pick
You
of
gonna
any
do
of the
ketchup?
options.
A little melted cheese sounds perfect.
Excellent. Just touch here to pay,
Okay.
and the first one's on us.
Thank you. How long does it take to make?
Just about 4 minutes. It's completely separated the sandwich, cooks each part individually, then reassembles it. That's what differentiates us from everything else on the market.
It tastes really good.
I have to agree that it didn't suck.
Thank you.
Could I ask you, is there a way I could have ordered medium rare? I just don't like a well-done burger through and through.
Barbara has
So right now, we cook
what's the option?
pre-cooked product to get it back, rethermalizing, and that's from a health and safety standpoint.
Rethermalized is a fancy word for reheated.
You're actually not just reheating it like a microwave. It's on a griddle, so you're getting that crust formation. You're
Really?
getting
Yeah.
it fried in its own.
See, and again, let me stop you really quickly here. That's what I'm talking about when you're adding these details, especially when you're talking about filing a patent application and trying to get patent protection on your product. It seems like they're taking a burger that's maybe, I don't know how these things come, but it seems like the burger's prepackaged. You are taking that apart, which is a step, which is different from, again, just having your, a lot of cheese or your ketchup, your mustard. Obviously, your ketchup and mustard may be separate things in general, but having, a container that has all your cheese and a container that has all your burgers, and you're kind of cooking these things individually. It seems like you're getting a prepackaged burger, which they're taking apart, cooking at least the cheese in a burger, maybe heating a bun up separately and then recombining it. Those are the details that, from a patent application perspective, will be important and can define over the prior art. So that's one of the things that I did want to just kind of take a pause. And as they're kind of talking about those, these are steps in a process, as well as the different components that perform these steps that kind of gets you off into maybe what's out there that's already out there, and get you into, okay, this one has some novelty, has some non-obviousness, and therefore you are more likely than not to get patent protection on it as it continue to differentiate you from the burger machines in the market. So let's get back to it. I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was an important step as he was explaining.
Juices.
Let me ask you a question. Are you thinking about just doing this under your brand, or do you want to make these machines and these robots for other people?
So we're a robot restaurant company. We started out, over 18 months being a burger company, testing the equipment, figuring out all the issues, operational, hardware, software. But our role is to be a brand extension of other people's brands.
I like that.
I see
Again,
my burger.
Just what he's talking about. Hey, McDonald's, if you want to put one of these things on the side in your restaurant, we will license this out for you to use it. Burger King, if you want to do the same thing, we got you. And again, that's going to allow these restaurants to scale back on the number of employees that they need, as you can have these different machines and apparatuses servicing the customers. So, this gets interesting. And I think that was a great point by one of the inventors, the owners of the company, just kind of being a brand extension of the restaurants, as opposed to them per se trying to create this Robo Burger restaurant. They tested out, they proved out the actual they tested and proved out the concept, but they're not trying to be a restaurant per se. They're more so trying to work with restaurants and other companies to provide these machines in their establishments. So again, I think that was a good differentiation that they brought up.
I'm going for it.
Exactly.
I'm excited. Let's go.
It's going to
And yeah,
turn
it seems like he
green
was-
and it's unlocked, and I've
It's
got a
green and
text
unlocked. I'm waiting
right
for the
here
burger.
telling me that that order is ready to go.
3.5, 4 minutes is a nice time.
Want to check
to
it out here?
Get in and out.
Got everything I wanted.
How
know how they
hot
got the
and
machine
delicious
down
is
there.
that? Warm bun, toasted.
It's pretty good.
That's solid. That's solid. I wonder how they got the machine.
Let's go back. How
wherever
big could
it's
this be? That's my question. Like, how many of these could there be in the world? Like, where do you see
We
these?
have a pipeline of some of the largest companies in the world.
We believe we can put tens of thhanousands of these machines into
Just
the
like a
world.
Come on,
man's
guys.
Ne-
There
Mark is
are
always
a zillion
skeptical.
robotic food manufacturing companies. I get them pitched all the time. Robotics in the
You're
kitchens and
shaking your
others.
heads no.
No,
Then tell me
is
otherwise.
he
Tell us why
right or
more.
Man, look it. When you start saying robotics and software with marquees, always get skeptical. Because again, this is market. He plays in a market, unlike Barbara, unlike Lori. It seems like Michael Rubin is a little more open to different things. And Mr. Wonderful, we all know, just wants to make money. However, when you start talking about robotics and software, the marquees always get skeptical. And I can tell you as a patent attorney, I haven't seen this before. Now, again, maybe somebody pitched this idea to him, but the fact that they have actual patents on it, and again, it'll be interesting to see what the patent covers. But I haven't seen it before, not only on the commercial side of things, but as I worked with drafting patent applications for these automated cooking or burger making machines previously, I haven't seen anything like that. So I'm not sure. I may have to disagree with Mark on this one, but let's get back to it and see what the guys are saying.
So I'm getting the pitches.
thank you, Mark. We have 4 patents. We own the sandwich. We have basically
We don't own the
deconstructed the sandwich
Own
and
the
put it all
machine that
back
makes the
together.
sandwich.
So we're not a reheat. We actually cook and clean. So our patents include the ability to do anything that's done in a restaurant.
Yeah, okay, so you just took a different approach to the technology. It doesn't mean there's not competition who does it a different way. And it's changing
we
rapidly.
get some numbers. I want to buy one for my office, okay?
Yep.
I've got 1,000 employees.
Yep.
Is there a lease program?
Yep.
Let's say I want 2 units. What do you tell me?
Well, first of all, we recommend a clustering of machines where you put in 4 machines.
Give me
Like,
4. What's the price?
Well, we have a lease program. It's only $3,000 a month per machine.
Only
Okay.
$3,000 a month?
Yeah.
I give you 3,000 a month.
Hold on, what's the revenue going to be from a machine?
Well, we average, because it can do multiple proteins. So you can load breakfast in the morning.
That
and-
wasn't the question, guys.
But stay with me on. I'm
Yeah,
your
but pin him down.
customer.
That's
I
the
want to know what the
interview that
deal
Mark
is.
just did.
I give you 3,000
That's
per
the
machine a month. Okay. Then what happens? You're going to come and supply this
Yes,
every.
no, we work with you on giving you the protein and the.
In my deal, my 3,000,
We
I
work
get
with-
everything.
we
Service,
work-
the burgers.
No, you get the recipe, and then we work with one of the big food logistics company where you buy the food from. We give you the warranty, maintenance, and
What is that
monitoring.
going to cost me?
Well, the recipe depends. If it's a
Okay, let me rephrase.
wait, Mark,
Go
let
through
me
the
tell you-
economics. Go
Hey,
through the
slow
economics.
down.
Mark, you're hitting the
slow
right thing.
down.
Let's go through the economics, because that's what I actually think you have a interesting idea, but I'm struggling to think about someone paying $3,000 a month per machine.
That's not
means
all they're paying. We haven't
right, so
found
you
out
got
what the food
36,000
costs
hours a
yet.
year. Add food costs, you got to make at least a 70 margin. So the machine's got to do $150,000 a year minimum for it to be a good business. Then could you really scale to have tens of thousands of machines throughout the country?
First of all, because this machine sells 24 hours a day, the ability to sell 30 or 40 or 50 units a day is very easy.
Is that the number? Some of them have proven to sell
Well,
through.
we've had locations in our beta. We were in beta for 18 months, where we were doing in the 20s to 30s.
A day.
On
20 to
average,
30 what?
24 hours.
20 burgers per day.
And what are you typically selling the burgers?
When we were during beta period, we did it between $5.99 and $6.99.
Got it.
Different
Okay, cool.
locations.
Our
$180 a
unoptimized
day.
cost for a burger is about $225 today. So our starting point is the biggest companies that have food service partners already.
You said that already, but you know what's missing
But is
from
it
this
mandatory
presentation?
for food?
Hold on
What
for a
she's
second,
asking
because I've
anything.
heard enough. I'm an investor. I have $1.5 million. I'm going to get 5% of this company, imputing a $30 million valuation. How
Crazy.
do I make money? All the rest doesn't matter.
Great question. So first of
I think
all,
that's a fantastic question. Let's hear it.
Kevin starts to get irritated. Kevin is starting to get irritated. Let's go. Let's go.
Robo Burger.
I'm an investor. I have $1.5 million. I'm going to get 5% of this company, imputing a $30 million valuation.
Which is
What have
crazy.
your sales been to date, and how much money have you lost so far?
well, we've been in beta for 18 months. We
And let me stop before he starts to break down the numbers. He's saying that they're typically doing in a beta period 30 burgers, $6 now. I mean $6, 30 burgers a day is $6 a burger. So you're saying for 5 days, I'm not going to say 7 days for the week, I know the week has 7 days in it, but let's say for 5 days they're running this thing and it's getting 180. Let's bump it up to $200 a day. You're getting essentially what? 6 times 180, $200, $5,000 a week. You're getting $4,000 a year. I mean, a month for the machine, which again, it costs you $3,000 and you have to do food. So at least those numbers at that point doesn't make sense for me. Because again, if you're paying $4,000, if you're only making $4,000 and say you're paying $3,000 that he talks about for the machine, and you have to pay food, say call it a couple $100, man, that's a whole lot of money to make. No, I mean, a whole lot of expending to make $400 or $500 for the month. So those numbers don't make sense, but let's see if they can clarify some of those things as the Sharks grill them.
Sold almost 12,000 burgers. We have contracts for 14 units right now of the 20 that we're producing this year.
Let's equate that to dollars. What do you think revenues are going to be this year?
1.4 million in revenue.
This year.
And then in terms of our loss for this year, it's going to be about 700,000.
Next year, what are sales going to be of machines? And what will you make or lose next year?
So we're going to do about $7 million in revenue.
Next year, $7 million in
$7
revenue.
million revenue.
What are you going to make on that $7?
About 1.6.
Mark is not a believer.
You know the field of robotics, it's a leapfrog industry where you hit one plateau and then somebody comes along and optimizes. Then there's a new chip that comes along. There's new software that comes along.
Absolutely.
And so if you were to come to us and say, this is a licensing play, right? And we feel that we can keep on pushing up our technology, that's one type of conversation that would have been interesting, right?
He did say it was a
But you
licensing
said you're
play.
using your technology effectively in a vending machine play. Vending machines are hard capital assets that cost a lot of money. By the time you get your 25th machine out there, the technology is different. So because you're driven by the physical location and the physical leasing, I think that's a huge mistake. So for those reasons, I'm out.
So, and again, this is another good point. And this also shows the power of intellectual property, particularly in this case, patents, because Mark is saying, hey, you're licensing a physical machine. If you would have told me, you said you had 4 patents. So I'm assuming that some of those patents have some method claims and some software that's you are protecting. If you were telling me that you're licensing the software, the actual, the software, the method of how you're doing this, as opposed to the actual box that includes this hardware and software, then I probably would have been on board because because the actual box, it's a lot of maintenance, a lot of opportunity for things to break down because it has a lot of parts. Numbers are not looking good on it. So that's actually a good point by Mark, him saying, hey, you're licensing the machine, the vending machine. And I'm not a big believer in that. But if you're saying you're licensing, because you said you had the patents and the patents has the software and this protection associated with it. If you told me that you were licensing that, I would have been a little bit more interested. That is a good point by Mark. And it just shows you the power of IP, man. The fact that you can kind of license out as opposed to having to make the product and sell the product yourself. You can license it to someone else, such as a McDonald's or a Burger King, who's going to do that. I think that's actually a pretty good point by Mark, and that actually smart.
All right, guys. I'm actually in the food business. I'm an investor in Hart House.
Yes.
Hart House is a plant-based restaurant that started in Los Angeles by Kevin Hart. I'm a first investor with Kevin, and we've got 4 stores open now. And I look at this and say, could this be interesting for Hart House? Should we be doing this for Hart House? But the economics to me don't work. This is a big idea. And for that, I commend you guys. But I just don't think you have the business model right. But I think this could be very successful. So for me, I'm out, but I'm a huge fan. I want you to prove me wrong. If it actually works, it could be massive. It could be a multi-billion-dollar business.
Well, thank you, Michael. But I think we could make the most delicious
speaking
Hart
now.
House. Sorry.
The only experience I've ever had in this area is I have a business called Daisy Cakes. She's opened her pies and machines in like 7 airports. And every one of them have had a problem. I thought they'd be maintenance free. They're not. They're not her machines. They're professionally managed, but there's always something going wrong. So I'm out.
So let me jump in and share with you guys. The problem here for me today is I think it was very confusing to me to understand what your model is. I will be cheering for you, but at this moment, unfortunately, I'm not.
Sorry, Dave.
No, I mean, and it's a good point. A lot of times when I'm watching these episodes to break down, I'm taking notes, trying to learn as well. And I think this was a good point by Lori. When you're going into the Shark Tank, you need to have understand what your model is. And sometimes the Sharks don't get with your model and they don't like it. And sometimes they do. But hopefully, as you're leaving, you're not pissed off or taking their constructive criticism. I guess as a slight, but you're learning from it, because I think that was a good point in terms of, hey, what's your motto? And being able to perfect that motto. I'm not sure if they're going to get a deal here, but to the extent that they don't get a deal, hey, go back to the drawing board and kind of see, is this some things that we have the IP, which is going to be good for 20 years. We have the IP already. Can we, at this point, kind of change up our model, maybe to similar to what Mark is saying, to be able to protect or license out the actual software and IP as opposed to the actual box. Then another thing I think Lori talked about with the cakes company that she's a part of, or maybe Barber, is you can probably put these things in the vending machines in the airports, because we all know, man, when I get out of come from a late flight, 10, 11 o'clock, and all the places are gone, with 4 minutes cook time, I maybe buy a burger on the way to the house, on the way to the car, or whatever the case may be. So that's another opportunity there. But let's get back to it and kind of see what Kevin says.
Hear it up.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you. So one of the things we're looking for is, if we could do financing for these units, like the use of capital. What are we going to use these machines for? To scale, to get these machines out there on a larger rate and continue to grow.
Wait a second. Would you take $1.5 million loan to finance orders that you have on machines and give 10% of the company to me? Because if you said to me a completely different structure and said, hey, I need $1.5 million to be able to finance hard orders for these machines at whatever market interest rates are.
Are you making them an offer?
I actually would do that. Sometimes in business, you do a 180. I just did a 180 on myself. So I would make $1.5 million loan against hard orders at market interest rates if you gave me 10% of the company and we had.
So you're going to be a
loan.
factoring company and take equity in the company.
Fair deal.
That's pretty greedy.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I think not only is that fair, but man, when you're a billionaire, you have seen a ton of these deals, and you have to get creative. And I think that's a pretty creative deal by Mike Rubin. He's lowering his exposure to things going awry, but to the extent that things go great, he participates in the upside, not only with the 10% interest in the company, but also with the market rate of his 1.5. I think that's a fabulous deal. That's an amazing deal for him. But I think that also helps these guys out by allowing them to, have money to provide for hard orders that they have, as Mike talked about. So I think that's an interesting deal. And hey, man, when you got that experience doing all these deals and creative deals, man, you can offer things like that. And when you have $1 billion, what they say $1.5 million is nothing.
Hold on. If it's greedy, why don't you do it for 5% of the company and do the same thing?
On those terms,
Mark, you're a really successful guy. So you should do.
I don't think it's a good business. I don't think it's a good business.
These guys are smart guys.
What do you think of the offer?
I think it's, first of all, thank you for the offer. We love the offer. We're a little concerned about the 10%. Would you be willing to take 2%?
No.
No, I think this is a very high risk project. I would do that for 10%. I would not do it for anything less. Because to me, I think it's a very low probability of working. And so what you heard here was a lot of skepticism is, are you really going to get the orders? And I'm only willing to put the money up against hard orders. And you give me 10%, I want to root for you, and I would do that.
I think that you have a fabulous offer on the table.
I agree.
I do. You need someone like him. I wouldn't even be dickering
Guys,
back and forth.
what do you want to do?
Well, Mr. O'Leary, what would you like to do? Would you like to consider an offer?
I just want to say the presentation was chaotic, and I was not going to go there. This structure is a very Mr. Wonderful structure. There's no question.
Are you
about
going
it.
in,
So
Kevin?
why don't we partner together on this and try to help them take a dream and make
I
it
do
come
that
true?
deal with you.
Okay.
I'll do $750 of it, but
So-
we want the 10%. It's 5 each.
Can you give us a second?
Take it. Take it.
We'd love to do the deal for 8%.
No,
Kevin, split the difference, call it 9%. Let's
Mike
go.
is a nice guy, man.
9% in the middle. This guy's too generous.
Mike is a nice guy.
Welcome to the Robo Burger family. Let's go.
Good for these guys, man. Good for these guys. Let's take a look at their website here really quickly. Glad these guys got a deal. Hey, that's the power of IP. You have these patents and you have a little bit more leverage. So this is Robo Burger, you see the TM at the end of Robo Burger, which means that they don't have a registered trademark for the term, but they're using it in a trademark sense to put people on notice. Love the fact that they are letting you guys know with the TM. If it was a registered trademark, they would have the R in a circle. Typically, yeah, this the Shark Tank banner there at the top. Typically, you will see, their website is pretty basic. Is this the homepage? Oh, there it goes. That's and the actual box looked like, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Redbox, but they used to sell the DVDs outside of like Walgreens and those retail stores. It kind of reminds me of that. But anyway, yeah, typically you will see on a quick service restaurant for just $67 a day, $0 down. Anyway, you'll typically see the patents. He said they have 4 patents. So as an attorney, as a patent attorney, I would like to see this at the bottom of the page, which you typically see. And I would not only like to see the fact that they say we have patents, but list the patent numbers. Put people on notice that you have protected your invention. And to the extent that people are looking to infringe on it, you're going to come after them. And I think just putting that patent number shows you're serious about that at the bottom of the website. So again, that's something that I would recommend, especially since they said they do have patents already, 4 of them. But otherwise, man, I'm glad that these guys were able to get a deal with Mike. Mike is a generous guy for sure. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So what you guys think? Let me know. Would you guys, if you guys saw this, I don't know, in Burger King or maybe in the office of your building, would you try one of these? For $6, I probably would try it just to see. Seems like all the Sharks at least agreed on the fact that the burger was pretty good. They didn't like maybe the model or whatever the case may be, but they did agree that the burger is pretty good. And I think this can be something. So, I mean, I'll continue to be on the lookout for this. I'll try to get these guys on the program to kind of talk about their invention and kind of their journey up until this point in time. This was actually a pretty interesting one. Let me know your comments, whether or not you liked it or didn't like not only machine, but I guess my thoughts. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comment section. I'm trying to provide you guys value from an almost 10-year intellectual property attorney perspective on this stuff, breaking down the IP, showing you the importance of the IP and what all you can do with it. I think this was a great episode showing that how you can, in their case, they're actually using it. I guess they proved out the concept and they're selling their box, which is one way you can go with it based on having IP, but other way you can just license it. You can license the patent to be able to put the onus on other people to take that the risk of making the boxes and putting it into their restaurant. So good stuff. Until next week, you guys take care.